Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another Best Practices webinar from Accelo. Today, we will be covering one of the most valuable connections that you can make with your Accelo system, and that is the integration with the Office 365 suite. My name is Drew Hansen, and I will be your host today. I am joined by one of our product experts, Katie Priest. She's one of the sales engineers here at Accelo. A quick tip about using the webinar today. We have a Q&A function down at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that, you can ask questions throughout the presentation. And we'll be answering a few of those questions at the end of today's presentation. Any questions that we don't get to, we will follow up with you with some more complete answers. Today's session, what I want to start with is really talking about the big question. And the big question is, what is the primary challenge that every business is looking to solve? Every business is really looking to use a group of people to achieve a common goal, whether that be as a service or a product, whether that be for clients or internally. And the way that we do that is that we have to manage resources, time, labor, cost, in order to achieve that goal for our clients. One of the biggest challenges within achieving that goal is really managing those human resources, coordinating all of that time, labor, and cost. And where that can often fall to the wayside is when communication fails. Right? Communication can be lost between people. Communication can be, within one person's realm. And what that then causes is a loss of time. Our efficiency of our time reduces. So what I want to do to talk about this particular issue, this particular challenge that every business faces, I want to go on a little bit of a journey. So every business, as you get started, you're small, it may be just yourself. And as you hire or you land your first client, communication between you and that client can be very easy, right? It's just you that has to keep track of all the communication so you can see all of the communication with this client, the back and forth. You know when the schedule is. You don't have any extra lines of communication within your own team or maybe even with their team. Maybe they're a solo business owner as well. So everything's very easy. But as you continue to grow, which is the ultimate goal, as you continue to grow, your team gets bigger, your clients' teams get bigger, and you start to add additional clients. As you add those additional clients, you may be talking to new people at those clients, right? You may be talking to their associates, their junior associates. You may be talking to their accountants now. And it may not be just you, right? Your team's growing, so there might be different parts of your team that are talking to different parts of their team. And this communication continues to grow and become more complex and becomes this kind of web of communication, right? With schedules, meetings, back and forth on emails, different parts of different projects. And that can be super difficult to navigate. And so what we do at Accelo to help solve this issue of communication being lost is that we centralize all of this client communication. And the best way to do that is that we have to start with an individual inbox. So let's look at how Accelo gathers that information to then put it into a centralized location. So when we first start, and we'll just look at a single person's inbox, if you look at your inbox, there's a lot of different things that are in your inbox every day. A lot of that is client work, or some of that is client work, which is the important stuff that everybody else at the business needs to know. However, there could be receipts that come into here. There could be advertisements, newsletters, communication with family or friends. And we want to sift all of this stuff that is not important for work out and keep it in the inbox. And then we want to pull just the client work out into a centralized location so that everybody can see. So one of the big examples here that of when this is super important. Let's say that one of your colleagues is out of the office. Maybe it was unexpected because they had to stay home because they got sick, or maybe it was planned, but it's for a long period of time. And if there's a piece of information that's in their inbox, some correspondence with your client, that's important for a project to move forward. If it's just living in their inbox and you cannot access it, you can't check in with them, that project may have to go on pause for a little while, and that holds everything up. And that could affect, other clients' work as well. So the solution to that potentially is that you break into their inbox. But if you break into their inbox, then you have to sift through ads, newsletters, family correspondence. And in addition to the work that it takes you to look through their inbox, you're also breaking their trust, right? Because you've had to break into their kind of personal space. So what Accelo helps to do is pull just that client work so that those pieces of information that could potentially hold up projects never get put by the wayside, never cause the project to go on pause, right? And so we pull just that client work out. Once we've pulled that client work out of the inbox, we then gather it all together. We aggregate it into one central location. So we've got Sally's work, client work from her inbox. We've got client work I've been doing from my inbox. And then we've got client work from maybe John's inbox as well. And it's all in one big place. Once it's in that big place, though, how do we organize that? Because we don't want to just see one big list in chronological order of all contact that we've done, because that's going to not help us to find information about a particular client. So what we do is, once everything's in one central location, we then separate it out based on client or company. We might call this a company. And so we're going to put all of Sally, mine, John's client work for company A into company A's bucket, right? And we'll put work for company B into company B's bucket, and so on. Within each client, we have additional buckets. And so we might have a bucket for a particular project or a particular recurring work that we might have for a client, or we might have a bucket for some of that technical support correspondence that we're doing, or some of our sales that we're making. Within each one of those, we might have particular tasks that we have to do, and we're going to have a bucket there. And so we're able to group all that communication by client, and then by project, and then by task, so that we can see things quickly if we're looking for a particular piece of information in a particular place. We can see all of those things very quickly. So once we've put everything here, probably the biggest question that we get is, okay, so you're going to pull all of that client work. How do I know that that client work is going to be safe? How do I know that you're going to pull the correct client work? So I want to talk about privacy. And privacy in our particular, in Accelo's case, privacy is probably the thing we pride ourselves the most on, and the thing that we're constantly monitoring and constantly improving, because it is the most important thing for all of you that are connected to Accelo, especially when you're connected to something as powerful as Office 365. It's super important for those messages to be correct. So how do I determine whether or not that we've pulled the correct work? How do I know that I've pulled only the client work from my email or from my Office 365? Well, we're going to first, Accelo is going to look and see, is that correspondence from a contact that already exists in my system? If it's from a contact that already exists in my system, we're going to pull it over. We're going to stick it in their bucket. We'll take a look at a few other things to see if it needs to go, in a different bucket as well. But it's going to come over as correspondence with that contact. If the correspondence is from a contact that doesn't live in the system, we're going to look at the domain name of their email address. And if their domain name matches a company in your Accelo system, we're then going to create that contact and put it into that company's bucket, right? The domain name matches, they probably work for that company. They most likely work for that company. So we're going to put it into that company's bucket. Otherwise, we're not going to pull it over. The other thing to keep in mind is that we do have, maybe when you're first getting this set up, you're worried about pulling all of your contacts over. And the great thing is that we actually have a wizard in place. When you set up your integration, we have this wizard that allows you to choose which people come over, right? So that you don't have holiday plans for mom showing up in your Accelo system, and you only have the important things there, only your client work. The other question that we get about privacy is, once I've pulled that over, okay, I feel super secure, everything's great, I know that only my client work's coming over. However, occasionally, I don't want everybody in the company to see some correspondence. Maybe I'm corresponding with an accountant, so we don't want to show all that financial information in that correspondence with anybody in particular, or something along those lines. What we allow you to do is create relationships in the system. And these are privacy rules, right? Those rules and those relationships that you create allow you to do one of two things. You can create a confidential relationship. When I create a confidential relationship in the bucket will show that some correspondence happened between myself and this particular contact. However, it will not show the information that was exchanged. It will not show the details of that correspondence, just that some correspondence happened. The other type of relationship that we can create is a secret relationship. If you have a secret relationship, the content and the correspondence record only shows up in your own personal bucket and your own personal view. Nobody else can see that there was correspondence between myself and this secret relationship. A great example of that is that internally here at Accelo, we are connected with our HR platform. Our HR platform is a company in Accelo's Accelo system. And we trust this connection so much that we have a secret relationship between every single one of our employees and the HR platform. So when the HR platform sends us sensitive information, whether that be our pay stub or other information about taxes and things like that, that shows up in our own Accelo system so that we don't have to go to our Office 365 to take a look at it. We can see that in Accelo, be updated on that. But nobody else even sees that there was correspondence between myself and the HR platform. So we believe in the integrity of our privacy rules within Accelo so much that we have that kind of sensitive information in the Accelo system. But again, only that employee can see that sensitive information because of those secret relationships. So on this journey, we're wanting to solve that idea of lost communication, which turns into lost time, which turns into less time that we have to commit to our clients to providing the best product that we can. And the way that we do that in Accelo is that we take a look at the individual inbox, we pull out just the client work that we need, we aggregate that, we then sort that aggregated client work from all of the employees, all of our colleagues. We sort that into different buckets for each company and smaller buckets underneath those. We make sure that we are only pulling that through these privacy rules, right? Are they a contact? Is the domain name there? And then we have further privacy rules in case there's very sensitive information that we don't want shared with everybody. that's the way that Accelo helps to solve that issue. And what I want to do next is actually introduce Katie Priest again. Katie Priest is our product expert, and she's going to talk us through and show us within the Accelo system all of the different ways that we help to solve this and the way that it gets all put together. So,
awesome. Thanks so much, Drew.
Yeah, thank you, Katie.
Go ahead and get my screen shared up here. Everyone should be able to see a list of companies in the top left there. Before we dive into the platform, I just want to align on that journey that Drew just took us through. So, we're trying to bring in all of our client communication, all of the work that we're doing for our customers in one place, while still respecting different privacy rules and truly giving our team a place to collaborate, a place for us to see all of the work that we're doing for our client and make it easy, because a lot of that work and communication does happen through email. So that's exactly why this Office 365 integration exists in Accelo. So what we are doing with this Office 365 integration is we are syncing our emails to and from Accelo. We are syncing any calendar events, so any of those meetings, anytime we've scheduled out for task work, we're syncing those between the two systems. We're also syncing any companies and contacts. So here at a list of companies, I can see all of the different businesses I'm working with, all of our main points of contact. Those also can exist in my Office 365 account. And then lastly, we're syncing tasks. So part of the Accelo workflow is this concept of milestones and tasks for our project work. Any to-do items that we need to assign out to our team, we can make sure that those sync over back to our Office 365 account through their task module, so we can operate out of either system and still be able to get our client work done. So with that lay of the land, let's talk about what that looks like in Accelo to have my Office 365 integration set up and start getting the value from that. So here at our list companies, I came to this view from our toolbar here on the left-hand side. I can see all of our companies and contacts. Again, those are syncing over. If I have those in my address book over in Office 365, what I hear from a lot of our clients that are smaller and really trying to grow is that they've been manually organizing those over in their email. They have different folders for their different clients. They're dragging and dropping and trying to stay organized. Well, you don't have to do that anymore at Accelo, because at the backbone of Accelo, we are that CRM. That means that all of the work that we do for our clients ends up naturally rolling up to the clients that we're doing that work for. So it will naturally get organized under the company that we're working with, or that piece of conversation will naturally get captured under that contact we're chatting with. Our 4 core modules are our sales module, where we can put together great sales opportunities and have a custom workflow on those. We can even put together very professional quotes or proposals through that module. Once our client has accepted those proposals, we can convert it to project work in our project module. That's where we can use our Gantt chart view, drop in a template, and lay out an entire scope of work. So if I'm, want to map out the entire scope of work for designing a website or running a network install, that's typically what we see folks using our projects module for. That means any of the communication we have around those projects, any of the tasks that we're assigning out to the team, all of that good detail is going to sync between the two systems. And then maybe once we finish that project, it rolls into more of a support mode, or any ad hoc work comes through our tickets or our service module. So a smaller version of a project, maybe it requires fewer resources, but anytime our clients reach out to us for support, we're able to pull those emails into the system because of this Office 365 integration. So we'll touch on that as we go through. And then lastly, our retainers module for any of our clients that we have on some sort of service contract, support contract, any ongoing work, we can manage and automate all of the work that we're doing on those retainers for our clients. So with these 4 core modules, when I say all of the work we're doing for our clients rolls up to them, that's the work that I'm talking about. So as we go through today, we'll talk about what items are syncing between Office 365 and just give you a taste and a tour of how folks operate in Accelo, being able to utilize that integration. So from our company's list, like I mentioned, we're bringing in everybody we're in business with. So we can have custom statuses, folks that we're actively doing work for, even our vendors and our partners. If we need to, submit purchase orders to them, we have those relationships here. Of course, all of that syncs between our Office 365 integration, and then even any of our leads, we're bringing those into the system as well, so we can really see our whole history of our relationship with these clients. So I'm going to take us to the company overview page now. For our client Delta Airlines in our demo environment, we'll kind of go through a journey of, looking at that sales opportunity. What do meetings look like in Accelo? What about tasks? How do we see emails in Accelo? And we'll talk about project work and assigning things out to the team, all for our client Delta Airlines here. Cool. So on the left-hand side, we're looking at folks that are frequently contacted. So Accelo is able to give us those types of metrics because it knows how often we're, sending emails or logging calls or having meetings with folks like Tracy and Carl. Down below, we're looking at all of our company details here. We allow for custom fields, so some folks like to capture all of the social media sites for this client, or maybe all of the platforms that they're using. As we scroll up, we're really getting a high-level pulse check on our relationship with this client. How much work are we doing for our client Delta Airlines? How active are we with this customer? And a big part of that comes from our touches. So our touches are any of those emails to and from our clients, any of the meetings that we've scheduled with our clients, any calls logged, any touches that we've had with this client Delta Airlines is feeding into that touches metric. And that doesn't matter if it's sent out of Accelo or if it's sent out of my Office 365 account. Because of that integration, we're able to get those types of metrics. Now, when we are emailing with our client, where does that go? What does that look like in Accelo? For that, we'll come to the stream. And in Accelo, the stream exists everywhere. We have a stream for our sales. We have a stream for our projects and tickets and tasks. And at the company level here, everything that we're doing for our client Delta Airlines is captured here in this stream. So it's a chronological capture of all of the emails, all of the progress that we've made. I can see Josh sent out a new quote to them. I have an internal note here where I need to sync with a colleague for this client Delta Airlines. And then as we come down, below in the left, I know Drew touched on privacy. So let's go ahead and create one of those private relationships he was talking about. Maybe I am working with one of the clients over at Delta Airlines. We'll go ahead and say it's Carl and myself. Great, Katie, project manager. This means that any conversations, any emails between Carl and Katie, what do I want to happen to those conversations? Do I want them to be confidential, which means that only I will be able to see the details, the content of those emails? However, there will be a note in the stream letting the whole team know that a piece of conversation happened. There was an email between Carl and Katie, and I don't see the details of it, but I know that it happened. Or it can be a secret relationship, meaning that anytime Carl and I are having conversations, it's completely left out of the stream for everybody else, and it's only available for me to see. So for an example, if I am an accounting firm and I do taxes for the medical industry, including dental, and Carl also happens to be my dentist, well, I'm in business with Carl. I do all of his taxes. Maybe I help run his payroll, but I also have to schedule my actual cleaning appointment with Carl, so I can make sure that that email is specifically secret and private and not related to the work that I'm doing for Carl. So that's one way we can create those private relationships. We'll talk about activities here in a minute in Accelo where we can also create, just one email that maybe needs to be confidential or private. Cool. So when we're talking about companies and contacts syncing between the two systems, let's pop to our contacts tab as well. Here is where we can add a contact straight here in Accelo. and that will sync over to my contacts over in Office 365. We'll get to that in a couple tabs here, but what I can also do is create that contact over in my Office 365 account, and it will recognize where it belongs over in Accelo as well. Like Drew mentioned, maybe I am introduced to a new member of the team over at Delta Airlines. Maybe it's Bob at deltaairlines.com, and he's copied into an email thread. What Accelo can do is recognize that email domain and automatically pull in that contact. So that way, any future conversations with Bob are naturally getting logged to the appropriate company and to the appropriate contact. So from here, I'm going to take us to a sales opportunity where I have put together, I need to put together a quote for this opportunity. We're going to do some design and dev work for our client Delta Airlines. As I scroll down, of course, I have all of those great CRM details here at the left-hand side. And in my upcoming work, I can see, oh, I have a task for myself due on the 8th where I need to send a quote out. And then I have a meeting coming up as well on the 8th from 10 to 11. So whether I've created those here in Accelo or I've created this meeting over in my Office 365, that's going to sync into Accelo. Down below in the stream, I can see all of the communication related to this sale specifically. So before we were at the company level, we were looking at all communication against all of our projects, all of our sales opportunities for our client, Delta Airlines. Now at this particular sale, we're able to see all of the different emails around negotiation. We're able to see any meetings that I've booked for this opportunity. And as we start to scroll down to some of these conversations, you know, I've scheduled a meeting for Drew here and Tracy. As I'm sending out emails, I'll even be able to see when they've read those emails or when they've opened the quote that I've had as an attachment to those emails. We'll be able to give you those insights here in the stream. So keep in mind this task and this meeting, because when we go look over at my Office 365 account, we want to make sure that those tasks and that meeting are showing up as well. So we'll come back to that here in just a bit. Now that we have, say that we've sent out the quote to our client, we've won the opportunity, we're ready to start executing on some project work. Here we are at the project level for our client, still Delta Airlines, ready to get this stuff done. You can see this page looks pretty similar to our sales page. I still have that custom workflow up top. Again, with that email integration, I can start to do things like, maybe if it's sat in a certain status for too long, maybe I'm waiting on the client, I can automatically trigger the system to send out an email to our client over at Delta Airlines to say, hey, we need this design, we need your color schematics, whatever that might be. As soon as I click it into that status, it can automatically send out that email. Likewise, for internal communication, if maybe this project sat in a certain status for too long, 3 days without any progress, I could send an internal note to Katie, our project manager, to say, hey, Katie, what's going on? You know, we need to get this moving along. It's been sitting in this status for a certain amount of time. And because of our email integration, we can have those internal notes or those emails sent out. So here at the project level, I come to the stream. And now I can see all of the communication related to this specific project. So here I see my colleague Anthony sent me a note. He needs help with a brief. I can see an example of a confidential relationship with Drew here, where I can see the content, but no one else will be able to see that when they come here. When you know, my colleagues that are helping work on this project, Anthony and Katie Contractor and other folks come into the stream, all they'll be able to see is that a piece of conversation happened with Drew. They won't be able to see the content of it. I can also start to hover and see that, oh, these emails were delivered like I mentioned. It will change different colors depending on if the email has been read or if an attachment's been opened. So I'll have that type of insight. And I can even reply in line here in the stream because of that email integration. So whether I'm sending a note back over to my clients over at Delta Airlines or an internal note, I'll have this timer ticking away. Now, for a lot of folks in, you know, the service delivery, industry is, well, we charge time and materials for a lot of the work that we do, but email communication, we spend so much time on it. I have no idea how to track how much time we spend on it. And we probably want to be billing for some of that because it's client work and we're getting good stuff done for the project. But how do I know how much time we're spending on that type of work? Now we can do that, and it happens automatically. So teams that aren't super familiar with tracking time, it's something new that they're going to have to adopt. Yeah, we can help you with that change management, but also let's just make tracking time as easy as possible here by having timers automatically start, whether or not this time should be billable against our budgets. All of that can automatically happen. Now, I talked about, creating those private relationships. Well, what about just on the fly? I just want one piece of this thread to be confidential or secret. I can definitely do that over here at the lock screen. So do I want it to respect my default settings? Do I want to make this available to everybody? So that means if I already had a private relationship with somebody on this thread, I want to override that and make it viewable to everybody. Or I can make it that confidential relationship where no one can see the contents, they can only see that the conversation happened, or a completely secret conversation that will only show up in my own stream. Now, all of that is permissions based, so if there's admin level users that you want to be able to set those rules for the team, great, we can allow for that and make sure that other folks, don't have those types of permissions when they log into Accelo. So that's responding in line as I send out those emails to my clients or those internal notes. That's syncing over to my Office 365 account. But what about if I just want to start a new thread or start a new conversation? I'll do that with activities in Accelo. So activities are those things that are feeding into our touches at the client level. How active are we with this client? How active are we in the work that we're doing for this client? So I can do things like create those internal notes. Again, that timer's automatically ticking away. Of course, I can create a confidential or completely secret conversation here. Emails are for any of our external contacts, so our vendors, our partners, our clients. I can book any meetings, and those will sync over to my Office 365 calendar. I can log calls. And I can even log that I sent something out in postal. And that's really giving our team full transparency to what is going on with this client for this project that we're doing. Like Drew mentioned, if he's out sick one day, I can pop into the stream and see exactly where he left off and keep progress going on this project so we don't lose any time. Now let's talk about scheduling. I think one of the coolest part of this integration is the fact that we can sync tasks and meetings over to the Office 365 calendar. That means that if I prefer to operate in one place like Accelo, this is my dashboard, this is my one source of truth, I never want to leave it, cool, I can do that. Or if I also am really keen on operating out of my Office 365 account, no worries. You can totally do that too because the two systems are syncing and you have accurate information in either system. So as a project manager, I come into my project, I see the scope of work that we have before me, and pretty much the first thing that comes to my mind is, oh my goodness, we have so much work to do. Who on the team is available to do it? And how am I going to get this work scheduled out to the team to make sure that their time is spoken for, that we can get all of this work done. So I have my different milestones, my different tasks. Some of these are already assigned out to people. As they're logging time, I can see real time that we're making progress on this project. How do I schedule it out? For that, we'll go to schedule work here for this project, and that's going to take us to our team scheduling tool. So on the left-hand side for that project, I have all of those same milestones and tasks on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I'm looking at all of our employees, all of our team members, And I'm also seeing their capacity. I'm seeing where they've already been booked out on work. I'm seeing where they're available. I'll also even be notified here if I try to schedule something to them and they happen to take PTO or they're on vacation that day, whatever that might be. So I can sort by folks of a certain skill set, or that if I want to see just all of my designers or all of my technicians, I'd be able to do that and use that as a dispatching tool as well. So let's go ahead and schedule some work. We have Katie Project Manager, that's me. Let's take some of these tasks here. We have this HTML edits task, it's unassigned, and there's 5 hours of work to be done on it. So I'll just take that task and drag and drop it over onto Thursday the 9th for Katie. And at this view, I have a couple options. I can actually schedule the time, which tells Katie Project Manager, hey, I need you to get this done on the 9th, and I'm going to book it out on a specific time during the day so that it's blocked off on your calendar and you know exactly when you need to get this done. So from 9 to 11, I don't have anything else that day. Accelo's recognizing an external event here that I've just put on my Office 365 calendar. This is when I take the train into work. So I definitely don't want to schedule, this task to get done then, but how cool, I can see truly when Katie is available to do this. So let's go ahead and book that from 9 to 11. Cool. Let's take one of these other tasks. Let's do this final QA. And let's go ahead and try to book it on a Saturday. So what happened there is this is not a usual work day for this staff member. So Accelo is letting me know, I know what Katie's schedule is. I know when she's supposed to be working. I know how many hours she's available each day. This isn't one of her days. So it's giving us that notification, but I still have the option to come in and schedule time for her on Saturday. Simply just assign that task, get it in her name, or even commit time. So for that QA task, it was a 3-hour task. Maybe I can just commit time to Katie and say, of that 3 hours, I just want you to get done 1 hour of it on Saturday. Nothing too crazy, but let's get you an hour on that task. Great, now that task is assigned to me, and I have a blue color you can see now for committed time. So as I'm looking at Katie's schedule, I'll click in and I can see, for the 6th, she has 2 external events here, an offsite conference and her train time. She also has a meeting that's been scheduled. Click into the 7th. I see all of those external events, a couple of different tasks that have been auto-scheduled, and so on and so forth. So we'll keep this in mind as we pop over to our Office 365 account and see what that looks like on my calendar. So really the last stop here in the platform is, where can I manage my emails holistically? Truly, if Accelo is going to be my one source of truth, I never have to leave it. I can do everything I need to do from here. I can just go to my inbox and see all of the emails and notes and things that have been sent to me. So back at our sale level, Anthony had sent me a note saying, hey, Katie, I need you to help with this brief. That comes over into my inbox here. I can reply to it in line. Again, that timer is going to start. I can set some privacy rules here for my conversation with Anthony, or I can even just action it. Actioning something in Accelo is just like saying, hey, this is complete, let's archive it. Now, we're going to leave Accelo and pop over to our Office 365 account. Cool. Here we are at my inbox. I see that same email from Anthony. Hey, I need your help with this brief. I can see the attachment, and I can even, start to respond and manage my emails here, and that will sync over back in my inbox and back against the sale opportunity, back against the project that I'm working on. Accelo will naturally keep all of this work organized for where it belongs. Now, what else I can do is check out my calendar here. So with my Office 365 account, I like to manage my calendar and really block it out whenever I'm not available so my team knows when they can use me. So I have my train time blocked out. That's not something that I do through Accelo. That's something that I put on my calendar here in Office 365. And we see it sync over to Accelo so that my teammates know not to schedule any tasks for me or any meetings for me during that time. I have my meeting invites that we saw from our sales opportunity. We have our best practice webinars that we're hosting today. And then I have a couple of those tasks. So as I've dragged and dropped those tasks over on team scheduling, and I said, hey, you need to work on this for a certain time frame, I'm able to see that now on my calendar. So here's that HTML edits task that we just did a few seconds ago from 9 to 11, now on my calendar. Cool. And then the last spot that I wanted to touch on was our tasks. So you saw me, committing tasks, assigning tasks into my name. Obviously, Office 365 has a task module as well. So what does that look like to have my Accelo tasks sync over? Cool. So here at the tasks, I can see, I had that hold the internal kickoff call, the client call. I can send a reminder to Drew, for example. These are tasks that I have assigned myself or my project manager, my teammates have assigned to me because they can see my capacity over in Accelo. And now they're syncing over to my Office 365 calendar. So when we're talking about task sync, we're syncing the title of the task. So as I come in and I edit this, if I wanted to edit the title, that would sync back over to Accelo. We're also syncing the description of the task. So again, if I come in and edit this task, I can put some notes here. And as I save that, it's going to sync back over to Accelo. We're also syncing the due date. So if I came in here and I realized, I'm not going to be able to get this done, I need to move it to a different day, that will sync back over. And then the status. So this is something that I hadn't started yet. Now it's in progress. Maybe I'll go ahead and get this complete. As I save that in just a few minutes, that will have synced back over into Accelo and updated back to my project plan. So that means as a project manager, when I am looking at this project and I'm seeing folks log their time, I'm seeing when things are being complete, I'll have an update in just a few minutes when a task is completed over from my task board in Office 365. That means that my teams can operate here in Accelo or operate over in Office 365. That's fine because of the sync between the two systems. We're going to pull that information in and give folks updates on what's going on with the client work. Cool. One last quick note I did want to touch on was relocating. I think a common question that I get is, well, Katie, what happens if, I'm negotiating with a client on a contract and we have this whole big email thread going and then all of that's, related to the appropriate sale, that's all fine. But then my customer, gets a new idea or has a new question come to mind and they just start a new email thread. Well, what happens to that? We were already having a conversation over here. Where does that other email go? Well, that's going to come into Accelo and it's going to be logged against their company record here in the stream. For example, let's sync on that quote. Well, this isn't just related to the company in general. This is related to a specific sale. So it's easy for me to come over to my kebab dots, click relocate, and say, no, this was related to a specific sale. We'll go ahead and get that put in and relocate it. Great. Now when I go back to that sales opportunity, I'm going to have that full context of all of the conversations we've been having around negotiating that contract or moving forward with that opportunity. Cool. So I think that's just about everything that we wanted to show you guys today for the Office 365 integration. I think good next steps are talk about some of the training that we have coming up, a special video we're putting together on all of the different settings for this integration, and then we'll open it up for the Q&A from the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. So one of the things that Katie mentioned, obviously, she showed us a lot of different things, a lot of the functionality of how we answer that big question, how we solve that issue in Accelo. If it's something that you are looking to incorporate into your integration, we will be following up with a video and some other information after this webinar. We'll send you all a link to this recording, but also we'll send you some information about how you can set up your integration in Accelo as well. And we'll have somebody go through some of our recommended settings in that video so that you can take advantage as well. Outside of that, we did have a few questions come in during our webinar, and I wanted to take some time to answer a couple of those, or have Katie help us answer a few of those. Katie, one of the first questions talks about email privacy. So they fully understand, they got our message, but they're still a little nervous about having total email transparency in the system. They're still worried about the possibility of personal emails coming into the system. How would you suggest that they avoid that from becoming an issue?
Sure. Yeah. Privacy is a question that we get a lot, especially when we're talking about work that we're doing for a client, when we're talking about contracts being involved. So I totally get that. I think, if you take nothing else away from this webinar today, the most important thing to remember about the email integrations that we offer is, as long as you don't have those personal email addresses linked to a contact within Accelo, those emails will never be brought into the system, right? So Accelo is a place to manage the work that we do for our clients. It's not a place to manage all of our emails. We think Office 365 and Gmail are great at that. Let them be email providers. Accelo is a place to manage the work that we do for our clients. So we're very, very particular about only bringing in those emails and conversations and meetings that are related to that client work. So that's exactly what the stream gives your team. It gives them insight into real-time updates on conversations, deliverables, updates for our clients only. So anybody who's still nervous about that, feel free to drop a line in the Q&A and we can reach out with you directly and make sure, that your integration is set up well, that you're not bringing in anything that you don't want to. We don't want to bring in emails from mom necessarily, so we can help make sure that mom doesn't actually exist as a company in Accelo, and then you'll be good to go.
Awesome. The next question that we have, Katie, is regarding making the switch to using Accelo completely. They've used Office 365 exclusively for interactions with their clients, and they're wondering why they should move to Accelo for this interaction when Office 365 has all of their contacts, companies, that's where their client and internal meetings live, those types of things.
Yeah. I think that right there is the beauty of how integrations work, right? And this being a two-way sync between both platforms, that means you totally can keep operating out of your Office 365 account. That's totally cool. Accelo will naturally capture those client-facing communications so that your team has transparency, and they can use that to collaborate better. I think, to get the most value, and the best practice is to send your internal notes and client emails out of Accelo, because you saw, those timers will automatically start. So you actually know how long you're spending on those, pieces of client correspondence and things like that. But ultimately, you truly can operate out of either platform. And, we're constantly working on this integration. We even have a beta program right now that's going to offer some additional functionality and just a faster sync. So we think, like I said, we think that Office 365 is a great program. It's a great email provider, and you can absolutely keep operating it, and we'll keep bringing in those conversations that are related to your client work.
Yeah, thank you. The next question said that they often have to worry about their timesheet at the end of the week, and maybe they are doing a lot of their work in Office 365, and they want to make sure that they account for all of their time correctly. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that integration helps out with that?
Yes. No, I'm glad that someone brought this up, because I meant to actually touch on our timesheet functionality. So when we're talking about, what a smarty pants Accelo is, we really are recognizing, that this client was contacted, right? It's feeding into these touches. We do recognize that we've spent some amount of time on this piece of work. And so what we're doing with that, even if you're sending those emails out of Office 365 or you forgot to come in and log your time in Accelo, at the timesheet, our weekly timesheet view, we're actually going to start making suggestions. So Accelo can see when I was working on a project or assign a specific task, and maybe I forgot to log my time on it, or maybe I even sent an email or an internal note on that task or on that project. Well, maybe I didn't actually come in and log my time. So these little suggestions right here, I'll go ahead and click on one of these. Accelo is saying, hey, I know you spent 5 minutes on this. Do you want to go ahead and log your time? Well, yeah, I totally do. I forgot to log my time. So we can prompt the team to put in some notes here, whatever you'd like them to capture for the work that was done on this task. And as we save that log, that's no longer a suggestion. That is feeding into my timesheet. So you can see I have a couple of different examples here where at the company level, I have that committed task that for 5 minutes. I have some scheduled activity for an hour that I forgot to log time on, so that kickoff call. Can put in my details there and make sure that my hour is logged. Again, that's going to feed into my timesheet. And what we're also capturing is those external appointments. So up top, I can see when I was on the train or that offsite conference, well, was this client related? Was this an internal conference where, maybe it was to improve on my project management skills and networking event? Well, if it's work related, I still want to know how much time I spent on it, even if it wasn't for a specific client. So I can absolutely come in and log some work and log some time for any of those external appointments as well, or make sure that they do get connected to the customer that they belong to.
Awesome. Yeah, super helpful to have those. And that's definitely something that internally we take advantage of as well. Katie, the next two questions are kind of related, kind of not. So one person asks, when I first purchased Accelo, I chose not to integrate with Office 365 right away. I'm ready to do that. Is there assistance that I can get, making sure that I do that correctly, this first time, now that we're now that we're a little ways into using Accelo? The second question, sort of related, says that they've heard a lot about the Office 365 beta program that we're doing and are curious about some extra information about that. So I know a couple different ideas there.
Sure.
But maybe
Yeah. So, being a user of Accelo for a while, you're finally ready to get your integration set up. That is so awesome, and absolutely we can help with that. So we know that there's different settings in there, there's different permissions, and then privacy is a big focus. So we can absolutely help make sure that it gets set up correctly. So, Accelo is really a system that's meant to grow with you as your business grows. So it's natural. This is a conversation I have with many of my clients, that they take kind of a crawl, walk, run approach with all of the functionality that we offer in Accelo. So, as you take on more clients, you may want to start taking advantage of these different integrations. As you become more comfortable in Accelo, you may want to start participating in some of those beta programs. So for that's exactly why we offer our expert services. So we can totally hook you up with one of our consultants and map out a game plan of best practices and all of the settings to make sure that your integration is set up tightly and smoothly. And then for anyone wanting to take advantage of our Office 365 beta, that's going to give you opportunity to test things out for us and experience the beta. It's going to be, long story short, it's just a faster integration, a smoother experience. So if anyone's interested in that, you can just email beta@accelo.com or just drop a line in the Q&A there, and Drew and I will make sure that we follow up with you to get you set up on beta as well.
Awesome. Katie, thank you so much for providing your expertise today. I think we are closing in on time, and I want to be cognizant of that for everybody. So we're gonna stop Q&A for now. I want to say again, thank you to Katie for providing us the expertise, for helping us understand how Accelo solves that why question and helps us solve that primary business challenge. And I also want to thank everybody who took some time to learn a little bit more about the Office 365 integration, so that you can learn either, more about how to optimize that on your end, or to jump in and use it. Again, we thank you for continuing to learn, continuing to work with us, and we're excited to watch you all grow and help be a part of that. So thanks again, everybody. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.